What's up, everyone? Wayne from GrimTac. If you're suffering abuse at the hands of your P320 pistol, where I'm pretty lucky, this isn't actually technically a SIG pistol anymore. ZevTech slide, Parker Mountain Machine, comp and barrel. The SIG armorer did the internals and the trigger job, so it's his custom striker, Armory Craft ledge. Not technically many SIG parts here other than the grip module, so this one doesn't chase me around the house firing indiscriminately on its own, and I'm very fortunate. However, if you are suffering some abuse at the hands of your P320, some of you are running back to the SIG P226, and with good reason. The P226 is an excellent pistol. One of the most recent releases from SIG was the P226 X5 Reserve, which is a super heavy, all black, glassy coated, integrally compensated pistol, but SIG only made 2,500 money grab of these units, and they're very hard to find. You can get them for around $4,500 to $5,000 if you can find one and if you can get it new. So I present to you, we have P226 X5 Reserve at home. Let's get into it. This is a P226 Zev. So it's ZevTech's take on the P226 pistol, and it is phenomenal. It's got a different slide style. It came with G10 grips that kind of sucked. They weren't very grippy. However, I'm going to show you how I made this into the at-home equivalent of the P226 X5 Reserve. So the first thing we did, obviously, was put an optic on. The P226 Zev comes stock with the Romeo 1 Pro optic. You may want to think about changing that out because it's not the most reliable, not resistant to damage. I've seen several of them go down and break. So we replaced it with a Romeo 2, which is more durable. The fully enclosed model, you can run this open, 3/4 shroud or fully enclosed. That's how we're running this one. Surefire X300 Light, typical. It comes standard with a threaded barrel and the barrel protector, thread protector on the end. This gun is very good out of the box. About a 2-pound trigger. It's what SIG calls a custom tuned trigger. Tactical. It's very light, very little take up, and short reset on this thing. So let's try it out. Safety off. That is the trigger, and that is the reset. Back to trigger. So excellent gun, external safeties like you would be used to on a P226. So how do we make this closer to the SIG P226 X5 Reserve? First of all, we had it ported. This was done by our friends over at Mac Defense. Mac Defense does an excellent job at doing a 3-slot port. That made this gun feel almost more like a 22 in terms of recoil rather than a 9mm. It was already very soft shooting gun because remember, it's a steel frame and steel slide and aluminum frame. So it's got a bunch of weight to it already. It's got some good rigidity. It's not all steel, so it's not quite as heavy as the SIG X5 Reserve. And then we added lock grips panels, which are the same panels added to the P226 X5 Reserve. Closer look at the lock grips, Gridlock P226 side panels. I can't stress enough what great quality these are and what a great fit they are on the P226 Zev. I had trouble holding on to the 226 grip because there wasn't really enough room for my support hand to find a space. And then with the G10 grips, it tended to slide around during recoil. I couldn't get really a sure grip on this thing. With the lock grips grid panels, I have a much easier time maintaining the grip because even though there's not as much space as there would be on a typical larger frame gun, my hand doesn't slip off anymore, and it's very easy to maintain grip through rapid strings of fire and through longer strings of fire. Aesthetics on the Zev are debatable. Some people like the new Zev take on the more modern look of the P226. Others prefer the cleaner classic look with less detail. The Mac Defense 3-slot port does an excellent job at keeping the gun flat and mitigating the minimal amount of recoil that the P226 Zev already had. All in all, this gun costs around, let's say, close to 2 bands for the P226 Zev out of the box. add your optic for another 300 or 400, add your light, and add these lock grips panels plus the porting, you're talking about in the neighborhood of $2,200 to $2,300. So that is not cheap for a handgun, but compared to the $4,500 to $5,500 you'd end up paying if you try to find the P226 X5 Reserve on your own, it's not a bad deal. We also added the Armory Craft slim thumb ledge for added support, and this thing shoots like a dream. If you're looking to run away from your existing SIG P320, but you don't want to give up on SIG completely, the P226 ZEV is a possibility, and you can run it just like the Reserve or close to the Reserve. I would argue that these ports might be more effective than the integral ports on a typical shortened barrel that SIG does with the extended slide, but that's up for you to decide. I think it's fantastic. All right, till next time, this is Wayne from GrimTech. If you found value in this video, please like, subscribe, and consider sharing it, and we'll see you next time.